Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to this virtual meeting of the Health and Wellbeing Board. My name is Councillor Rob Appleyard and I'm co-chair of the board along with Dr. Bryn Bird. I will now call out the names of the other members of the board and ask them to confirm that they are present. Obviously, Dr. Bryn Bird.
Present. Morning.
Thank you. Alison Elliott, interim DAS from Baines.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Joss Foster from the RUH.
It's present. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Guy from Baines. No, not quite here yet. Okay. Paul Harris from Curo.
Yes, morning, Rob.
Morning, morning. Nicola Hazel from AWP.
Yes, morning, Rob.
Morning, morning. Mary Carey Knowles, who's our Baines Director of Children's Services.
Good morning, present.
Morning, morning. Steve Kendall, Inspector from the police.
Morning, Chair, present.
Morning, thank you. Bruce Lawrence, Dr. Bruce Lawrence, our DPH.
Yes, present, Rob.
Thank you. Stuart Matthews from the fire. I don't think he's arrived yet. No, okay, so we'll wait on later on. Kate Morton of Bath Mind.
Yep, here, Rob, present.
Thank you, Kate. Joe Scammell from Virgin Care.
Yeah, I'm here, Rob. Morning.
Morning, Joe. Morning. Vanessa Scott from Health Watch.
Good morning, I'm here.
Morning. Richard Smells from the CCG.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, Richard. And Andrew Smith from the Primary Care.
Morning, Chair. Yes.
Lovely. I think. Please indicate if I've missed anybody else. And we've obviously got Councillor Robbie Moss, who's in as well. Okay, I think that's it. Can I remind everybody to keep the background noise to a minimum and to only speak one person at a time and not to speak over others? Please mute your microphones when not speaking and then unmute when I invite you to speak. And please indicate if you wish to speak by the chat facility on Zoom by typing in MIS, which is may I speak, and I will call you to speak in turn. There is a hand function that I can pick up on the screen as well, should you so wish. Apologies for absence and substitutions. I'll ask Marie if any have known.
Yes, Chair, we've got Cara Charles Barks, who's been substituted by Joss Foster, Will Godfrey, Sarah Gallagher, Councillor Kevin Guy, Julia Clark, who's been substituted by Joanna Scammell, Bernie Morley, Corinne Edwards, Andrew Girder and Laurel Penrose.
Okay, thank you very much, Marie. Declarations of interest, and that's to ask for any disclosable interests together with the nature of any interests. I see no indications. If there is anything that pops up during the conversation, just make it known to me and we'll get that recorded. Public questions and comments. I don't think we've received any questions or statements. Marie, is that correct?
No, none have been received, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Minutes of the previous meeting, which was on the 29th of September. Can I invite the board to confirm that the minutes are a correct record? Yes, I'm seeing lots of nods, so thank you very much. We take those and we get them signed one day in the future. Gosh, we're going to get writer's cramp with all the minutes we've got to pre-sign, isn't it, really? Right, okay, moving on to the first item on there, which is the Better Care Fund 2020-21 and 21-22, the proposals. And can I ask Alison and Gina, I don't know if Gina's on the call.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Gina.
No problem. Hi.
I missed you. Okay. And I'll hand it over to Alison and Gina.
Thank you, Chair. So what the Health and Wellbeing Board have before them today is the report on the Better Care Fund, which gives you a summary of 2020-21 and the plans for 21-22 in terms of the schemes that are being proposed. Members will appreciate that last year was a difficult year. we're all experiencing the pandemic, and that had an impact not only on our ability to implement some of the schemes that we had planned, but also in terms of our ability to get them going and to ensure that so there's an underspend as a result of that. The other issue that we have is that we have no guidance. No guidance has been issued for us in respect of the Better Care Fund as a result of the pandemic. So we are working on the basis of the 1819 guidance. And you will see when you look through the report that guidance doesn't necessarily reflect where we are specifically around delayed transfers of care, because we've seen a change in that in terms of the criteria to remain within the hospital. Members will note that there's a recommendation for us to review our governance arrangements. We've appendixed the arrangements that are currently in place, but given the development of the ICS and also making sure that there is oversight within the council and within the CCG, we are going to need to work on those governance arrangements, and we're committed to do that this year. You will also note that there has been underspend of around £800,000, which was transferred into the council to support the COVID spend within adult social care, and the recommendation on the underspend of the DFG to roll that forward into next year. The reason why there's an underspend in the DFG is we weren't able to get out to houses to do those adaptations because of the pandemic. The remaining underspend we have used to make proposals for the spend that we are suggesting in 21-22, and members will see within the report that there are a range of schemes that we have had requests for in terms of funding, and Gina can go into those schemes in more detail should members wish. So we've had that additional resource because we've underspent, because projects didn't start in 2021 as we had anticipated, and because there are some projects that we're not taking forward. So we have that ability to resource these new projects, and we're asking the Health and Wellbeing Board to consider those projects. There are some areas of due diligence that we still need to do in respect of those projects, and we will continue to do that. And you will note in the report that actually we need to clarify the sources of funding. So for those of you who are familiar with the BCF, there are various streams of funding within the BCF, and we just want to be clear, because I don't think we've necessarily always been clear, where those funding sources are badged against which project. And that's quite a big piece of work. We've started to do that, but we'll continue to do that throughout this year. I think that's it actually, Chair, and I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, just wait for an indication for any hands on the screen. I think on the chat as well. I mean, I'll just set the ball rolling while other people just formulate their thoughts on that. When you say that there's very little guidance when we're working on historical guidance, does that give us then a fair amount of flexibility to tailor now our focus on the needs that are current at the moment?
Well, yes and no, really. It's a risk, I suppose, and we've identified it as a risk because we haven't had that guidance. We have had indications, so we've had indications that the funding will continue. We've had indications in the white paper that the BCF will be a standalone funding, not connected with the NHS financial return. So there is some noise around the system, but the BCF historically has been subject to heavy guidance and heavy reporting, and because of the pandemic we haven't had that this year.
Thanks, Alison. Paul, I think you've indicated.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I just making the observation, I know this has been a very strange year for everybody, but given that there's quite a large underspend through this fund, is it something that the Health and Wellbeing Board is able to look at earlier in the year rather than right at the end of the year, and potentially able to contribute to thinking about how that underspend could be used?
So what we have done, Paul, is that because of the underspend, we have given the opportunity for colleagues to be able to bid against that underspend, and those are the schemes that you see there that we have presented to you. So we've given colleagues across the system that opportunity, and where they have met the criteria existing that we have to date, then we have put those forward, and those are the schemes that are in the report. In terms of underspends going forward to next year, we would not wish to see the same level of underspend that we've had this year.
Okay, thanks, Alison. That makes sense.
So I notice if you've got the chat up on the side of the screen, your little space bar doesn't unmute you. Following on from that, Alison, if you say that people are obviously bidding against the underspend, but if there is a pent-up demand from unfulfilled work from last year, are we waiting those requirements to pick those up as a priority?
No, so we haven't had any of those requests for those requirements, but you'll see from the schemes that we've identified as the spend for 21-22 that those do reflect the pressures within the system in terms of being able to see a system-wide approach to those pressures that we anticipate. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that underspend, that 800k. I mean, do we actually leave in any additional spend from other areas when using that?
Sorry, can you...
Yeah, I mean, do we work in partnership with anybody else? And so we can sort of maybe make our money go further and part fund and draw in resource from other organisations.
Right, so we haven't done in respect of those schemes that we've identified within the report that's here for you today. So those schemes are funded through the BCF. In terms of the underspend, the 800,000 underspend that we have transferred into adult social care, that was in respect of the pressures that we experienced during COVID, and that was agreed. The BCF funding has to be agreed by yourselves as the Health and Wellbeing Board, and it has to be jointly agreed between the CCG and the local authority. So our recommendations to you are those that have already been agreed between the local authority and the CCG.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for any other indication that Joss.
Thank you, Chair. I'm interested in reablement just because it's a topic we continuously discuss, and there's I see that it's in the list of schemes, but there's been an underspend on that this year as well. And I'm just sort of like thinking about it's difficult to tell whether that's the right sum of money or not, because there's not a lot of detail behind it. But in the scheme of the challenge that because it's a topic we continually discuss, it looks like a relatively moderate sum of money in there. It would be helpful to have a little bit more information about whether, you know, the level of the scale of the program of work that is involved there.
So I think that's very current, Joss. We do have some concerns in respect of reablement and our ability to ensure that there is flow out of the hospital through reablement and to support people in their own homes rather than going into bedded capacity. So one of the pieces of work that I've been doing with colleagues in the CCG and across the council and Virgin is looking at where the areas are within reablement where we think we can make improvements. So I will be chairing a project group which will kick off on the 6th of April, and we will work with our colleagues in Virgin to ensure that we redesign the reablement service so that we have a simplified service that allows for flow out of the hospital, but also more importantly ensures that people have access to a service that helps them maintain their independence and remain in their own homes. So we know that there is an imperative to get this sorted, and we will be working on that with some pace, I can assure you. This and Gina may be able to help me a bit more, but this was more about the project capacity to be able to develop the reablement transformation that was agreed last year, but because of COVID, Virgin haven't been able to necessarily implement all of that. At the moment, I think we are within the financial envelope for reablement. It's about redirecting the resource that we have rather than additional resource. However, there might be a capacity issue, but if we think about the resource we've used for our D2A beds, we'd want to reduce that spend there. So there is flexibility, I think, without using the BCF monies. But I might be coming back to you in a few months' time and asking for more money, but hopefully not, okay? But that is an imperative for us.
Thank you, Alison. Was there anything that Gina wanted to add on there, or is just?
I would just agree with what Alison said. The money's been kind of allocated through discussion with other members of the team to agree the amount that was put aside for reablement, and it has been put there as it will sit in BCF until the money is called upon. So it's a pot that's ready to be dipped in when it's needed and when the need is allocated for it. I believe there was some return from reablement this year financially back into BCF because of the underspend, which showed that actually the year before we'd allocated about, I think it was 100,000 over what was needed, which was then returned to us.
Okay, thank you, Gina. Can't see any other comments. I mean, I'd like to say that hopefully board members will agree that I'm actually very confident that we've got the right focus on the reablement, understanding and peace, and I think the work that Alison will be doing with colleagues in Virgin Care will put us in a much better position to obviously to support those people through and to keep their independence for longer. So I look forward to some positive outcomes there. No pressure, but so thank you very much for that. I'm not aware. I don't know if there's any comments from Vanessa on Health Watch or anything like that, putting you on the spot, but also just trying to make sure people are included.
Nothing for me at the moment, to be honest with you, but I'll add anything in when I need to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm playing with my new band. I've got a barky dog out the back at the moment. Don't buy a Westie. Right. I think unless there's any other comments on the, Richard. Sorry, Richard, I nearly missed you.
That's right, Chair. Thank you. Alison, just, we talk a lot, don't we, about outcomes and measuring outcomes and the impact of all the schemes we do. And I'm just interested as a board, how over the year we can really keep track of the impact of these schemes and how, we can really be convinced that, we're investing in the right things. Could you just share a few thoughts with us?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Richard, and I think that's not necessarily an issue for Baines, but I think it's an issue for all BCF funding in areas. So I think in terms of our evaluation of those schemes going forward, that is going to be a significant piece of work for us that we will feed back to you in terms of, but it's not just, it's not just the work that we need to do to ensure that you have the detail around the outcomes. It's about being clear about what outcomes that we are measuring and what's the impact we're looking for. So that piece of work we will undertake. Yeah.
Can I add just one comment on that bit? So in the BCF proposals that we've got for next year, we are actually looking to hire 2 roles that will support this. So we're looking to hire a BCF manager who would support Judith's role with managing the BCF, because we believe that this could be a full-time role in its own. and they would be responsible for keeping track of all the schemes and the management of outcomes across all schemes. And we're also, one of the schemes in there would be a additional resource in the business intelligence team, and a big part of their work would be to help reporting and the side of BCF, as well as the finance reporting as well. As kind of we've all touched upon, this year was an odd year, so a lot of the reporting has been, we didn't do as much as we wanted, and we didn't have as much time to put into reporting as we would have liked. So we're really hoping that the new year and the new resource will give us a really good stand on what is happening and the outcomes for it.
Thank you, Gina. I think that's reassuring, and I think that will go some way to satisfy Richard's question, really, on actually understanding the outcomes, because that is something we can get wrapped up in the process and to understand whether there is good value and provided the right outcomes for the individual out of this. So that's good. I'm now desperately looking through, and I can't see any more indications from contributions from anybody. Nothing on the chat. Okay, so from that point then, I mean, I shall ask the board if they agree with the recommendations as set out in the report, and we're obviously going to vote on this. And we're going to follow the normal pattern now. Can I ask anybody who is actually against accepting those recommendations to please indicate in the chat or show your hands? I see nothing. Anybody want to abstain? I see nothing. So on that basis, that we're unanimously accepting the report and the recommendations, and thank Alison and Gina for the presentation, and obviously any other officers for the work involved in bringing that to us. And we look forward to the updates on that. Now, that actually concludes this particular meeting. It was short. We did have some other items on there, but we were asked if we could give them a bit more time, because they actually wanted to add a little bit more to those reports for the benefit of the board. And so they will come at the next meeting. And that next meeting is actually scheduled for Tuesday, the 22nd of June. It will be chaired by Dr. Bryn Bird. As I said, we alternate that chair on there. So from this point of view, I say thank you very much. Just my very final comment is, and I believe this is Dr. Bruce Lawrence's last Health and Wellbeing Board. And I think we'll all want to wish him a happy retirement. I'm sure he's going to pop up doing something else. I don't know what. Personally, I'd like to say thank you very much for all the support and the consideration he's given me in my role to actually understand the complexities of what happens on there. And so thank you very much, Bruce, and happy retirement.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. Good luck, everyone. Keep the fight. Keep going.
Okay. And thank you very much, everybody else who's attended and